about that track and field, what it entailed on the girls' side of things, because I took everything from Ghislaine Orbeck. Now, if you know Ghislaine, things might have worked a little different. He could have told me the girls work a little different than guys. But it did work out. I want to clarify a couple of things before we go into Tara. Mr. Kolpak, there are 3 1982 graduates in the room, and I believe we'll at least have one more coming in very soon, I'm sure. Me being on the committee, I'll make that happen. Mr. Brad Beck or Jeff Kolpak, your brother, very soon. Going into Tara's bio, taking a look, it's a long line of impressive achievements. After she graduated from South High, she went over to Washington State, had her undergraduate degree, and then transferred that across the river and had a graduate degree in the area of science, and also received her PhD from NDSU. Those 2 degrees came from NDSU. Beyond that, then went on to immediately working for GlaxoSmithKline, and if you read the bio, you can see that there's very impressive pieces of information that Tara has achieved in that time. I would say that the first time, like I'm going back down to her 9th grade year, her achievement at that time that I recall was at an EDC track meet, and we talked about this earlier. That was most impressive, and you could see the competitiveness and also the teamwork that Tara possessed back in 9th grade. We were at Grand Forks, where traditionally the Eastern Dakota Conference track and field meet was held. And Tara was a hurdler and had the unique combination of also being a shot put specialist. And in either of those categories at that time, she had not qualified for the state meet. And honestly, I didn't think that it was probably going to be a probability, being a freshman coming into that meet. She was she was warming up for the 100 hurdles, and we talked a little bit, got the hurdlers going, and Tara actually finished 2nd in the heat. Ran her best time of the year, ran a personal record. Almost immediately following, she was called to the shot put area. Now at that time you had to kind of go around the gate. She came off the track, literally didn't put her sweats on, was almost into the circle within a probably 2-minute time frame, and she put that shot. At that time, the qualifying state standard was, I believe, 35.6, and she was at 35.8. Now, that was 3 feet farther than she had put the shot previously. So you knew the competitiveness and the abilities that Tara had at that time, not only physically, but mentally, to do those 2 events. Takes a little bit of different type of personality in a track and field athlete. Talked with Craig Flogan earlier yesterday. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here, and he sends his regards to the 3 people that he coached in this room, which would be the 3 youngest of the inductees. And he talked about Tara's competitiveness on the court. She was also a co-captain of the basketball team at that time when they won the state title that year, and also a co-captain in the volleyball team. And a very, very accomplished in orchestra. Very first chair viola, I believe. All right, I'm glad I got that. I didn't know quite violin or viola. So she did a lot of great things at South, and you could see those things coming through. To this date, as Mr. Kolpak has stated, the drug that Tara is working on has now been FDA approved. And as was stated, that is a once-in-a-lifetime event, almost like lightning striking, to get something of that nature. So without any further ado, Tara, come on up, and we will hear from Tara Roa.
About the hurdles and shot put, because I do remember that, but I also remember being a huge pain in the rear in track. So, like insisting on four-stepping hurdles when everyone else was three-stepping. So I'm glad you didn't tell any of those stories. But I'm really excited to be back in Fargo this weekend, especially Fargo South High. And what a great weekend to have this game day weekend. So well-planned, self-committee. And I am really, really honored by this recognition. I mean, there's an incredible breadth of accomplishments in the room tonight, and it's really an honor to be a part of this group. So I'm just going to start by telling a little story about living in the South. So I've been in North Carolina now for about 12 years, and what I've come to appreciate, having been down there for a while, is that they kind of see people from Fargo as kind of like celebrities, or at least mythical creatures, like unicorns or something. So anytime I meet anyone, anywhere I'm at, and they find out I'm from Fargo, they will say one of two things. It's either, wow, y'all are the only person I have ever met from Fargo. Or, and I get this more often, I loved that movie. Do y'all really talk like that? Yeah, you betcha. So, it was here 20 years ago in Mr. Berg's AP chemistry class that I first became interested in chemistry. And I've heard that Mr. Berg is no longer with us, which is really sad because he was a wonderful teacher, and I will always be indebted to him for teaching a class that piqued my interest and held my attention and taught me something, despite a severe case of senioritis. So it was also here that I learned the value of hard work. And so this was thanks to my parents and my family who are here tonight. I have a big group back there at 3 tables, including my parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles, nephews, brothers, sisters. There are several other South grads back there. But also my teachers and coaches back in the early 90s. So I learned that nobody wings it at All-State Orchestra and gets a star. And I also learned that you don't just show up on game day and win a girls' state basketball tournament. In fact, I remember as a junior the sting of coming in dead last in the state girls' basketball tournament, the same tournament that we turned around and won the following year after a nail-biter triple overtime game with Red River. So these lessons and others prepared me well for my career as a medicinal chemist at GlaxoSmithKline. And for example, the melanoma project that I worked on was near and dear to me. At the time when we first started working on this project, there were no good treatments for metastatic melanoma. And patients with this diagnosis, their average survival was less than 5 years. And unfortunately, a lot of people that were diagnosed with melanoma were young people under 40 years old. So this was something that our research team had a lot of energy around. So we knew that there was a protein associated with melanoma, but this was unprecedented. It was a new target, and we thought, let's look for an inhibitor for this target and see if this works in melanoma. So we had a team of 12 chemists, and my team of 12 chemists synthesized 5,000 different molecules over the course of 4 years in order to find just a single molecule that had the properties we were looking for to test in clinical studies. And I am absolutely thrilled to say that that hard work and persistence and patience paid off, because that single molecule is now called Tafinlar, and it was approved in the US and Europe for BRAF mutant metastatic melanoma earlier this summer. So most importantly, and this has been a common theme tonight, I think it's absolutely true, nobody does any of these things alone. And so it takes a boatload of support from family, friends, teachers, mentors, colleagues, teammates, and communities. So thank you to every one of you who has supported me. I wouldn't be here without you. So I'm incredibly lucky to have had the support and opportunities I've had while I was at Fargo South. And I'm incredibly proud to be a Bruin. Go Bruins.
Thank you, Tara. One of the neat things that happened today at the Pep Fest